Welcome to my weekly workshop here on Facebook Live. You're here with Amanda Hall, psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia. I really want to welcome you to the show today. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, whatever part of the globe that you're in. We are here in Australia, and today is the 25th of April here in Australia, and it's known as Anzac Day. And Anzac Day, for those of you that may be in other parts of the world who don't know what Anzac Day is like your Remembrance Day here in Australia, where we remember those that have fought in many, many wars over the time of history. It's our day of coming together. And Anzac actually means Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, and that's where the name comes from. It's a very, very special day here. We've had many services from the dawn service down here at Currumbin Beach, which is one of the most famous Anzac Day celebrations here in Australia. It's televised all over the world, and I've been there many, many times, long before it became popular and got televised on the television. It's always been a very special place in my heart that I like to attend or watch on Anzac Day, as I remember my family members that went to war and lost their lives, and too many of them to remember here today, as there is for many of you. So I'd like everybody to hold them in your prayers as we move on to our mini workshop series. My name's Amanda Hall, psychic. I'm here from the Gold Coast. I've been in the psychic industry here in Australia for well over 40 years, and I'd like to welcome you to our workshop number 11. This week we're going to be working with the full moon in Scorpio. So let's get a few T's and C's out of the road before we start. This is an educational mini workshop series. It's not a series where I do free readings or offer you free readings or offer you advice in that way. It is purely an educational and enlightening segment that I do each week here after my show out of the Washington district in the USA on A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV through the Facebook Live and YouTube Live main streaming services. I move on into this workshop directly behind my show out of Washington. So you've got, nearly an hour of my services here during the middle of the day on a Wednesday. You can play catch up. You'll find in my blurb there's an actual page that's been set up for previous shows and workshops that you can go back and binge and catch up, or just rewatch the episode again if you feel that way. I will not be mentioning hello to this one and that one as we go through the live stream, but I will promise you within the next 24 hours, if you leave me a message or even a wave or a smile, I will personally reply to you. I like to focus my attentions while we're here on the topic at hand and explain to you in this 20-minute workshop what we're going to be working with. So let's get some other T's and C's out of the road. For those of you that may wish to purchase product, book a reading, book a course or whatever with me, head to my website, amandahallpsychic.com.au. When you get to the checkout, make sure that you type in the word in capital letters, Facebook. Then I will know where the leaders come from, but you'll also attract a discount. For those of you in Australia, we offer free postage on all our services. For our international viewers, we unfortunately can't offer that, but what we can offer is a flat fee of postage for no matter how much you purchase. So if you've got some ideas of some things that you'd like to buy, maybe save your pennies up and do them all in one go, and that will at least save you on the international postage. So here we go. We're going to be working today with, as I said, welcome again to everybody that's just joined us here on Anzac Day here in Australia, where we've all been remembering those that have gone before us that fought for our country, including many members of my family. Today we're going to be working with what's known as the full moon in Scorpio. Now, I hear you ask, what does a full moon mean? Well, a full moon happens once a month. It's when the moon is at its fullest, and you can look into the sky and you can see that it's very full, it's very round, sometimes sad, sometimes a happy moon, but it's very, very full, and sometimes it has a ring around it. It means when the energy is at its fullest, where the moon itself is full and it's ready to empty her emotions. She's ready to let go, to release. So this is why we say a full moon. A full moon is time of release and letting go. Each month, the full moon falls in a different astrological sign. Now, the reasons for that is it follows the astrological calendar around. So when we have a full moon in this energy, which is Scorpio, it is in the directly opposite energy of where the sun is in the astrological chart. So that's how we know. If the sun is in Taurus, then the full moon is in the opposite sign of Scorpio. So that's how we work that out. So when we look at where the sun is for the month, that's where the new moon will be, but the full moon will be in the opposite sign. What happens when we have two full moons in a 30-day period, a calendar month? That's what's known as a blue moon. And when we have a second new moon in the calendar month, that's what's known as a black moon. So I hope that clarifies that. So that our next full moon will be on April 30, or the 30th of April if you're here in the Southern Hemisphere. So that's coming up just after the weekend. Now, I like to work with the moon energy in this way. I like to look at 48 hours prior to the date, which will take us back to the 28th. So we have 2 days prior. It's approximately 2.5 days of the full moon intensity. Let's round it off to 3. And then add another 2 days behind that as the moon tapers off. So we're looking at approximately a 7-day period of the moon slowly rising, becoming full, letting go, and then slowly winding down the hill. So if you look at it in that process, you can then start to prepare to work with the energy. Now, working with the energy of any full moon is the same every month, but each month when the energy changes, when the full moon's in a different energy, we will handle the emotional responses differently. Now, the full moon in Scorpio, in my professional opinion, is the hardest of the 12 full moons for the year. The reasons why this differs from the full moon being in Cancer, and for those of you that may or may not know, Cancer actually, the planet that rules the sign of Cancer is the moon. So you would think that would be the hardest moon, but actually it's one of the more comfortable moons because it's back in its own energy, it's back in its own home. It doesn't feel uncomfortable or threatened. It's able to be itself there. But when it moves into Scorpio, which is such a fixed and rigid sign, the moon feels quite uncomfortable here because it's confronting. The Scorpio energy is very deep, very intense, very secretive, wanting to keep everything hidden, keeping everything to themselves, holding on to it for grim death, fearing to let it go, to release anything. So when the moon comes along and says, okay, come on, we're going to release some of this stuff. You've held on to this for long enough. You've hidden it underneath the surface, around the back of the crevice, behind the door, under the bed for long enough. We're now going to bring it out into the light. We're going to deal with it. We're going to process it. We're going to look at it. We're going to look at what bits we need to keep and maybe put away for another day, and what we can now safely sort of set free like a balloon up to the heavens. So it's a very confronting time. And people quite often find that this brings up emotions that they've had locked away for many, 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 many years, not just recent stuff. So what I want you to do is start to write a little list of the things that maybe that you can let go of. You may have 2 or 3 things on your list that you can let go of now. You may have 2 or 3 things that you're working on as a work in progress, and you may have 2 or 3 or a dozen things that you say, boy, I've been working on them for 10 years, but it's still a work in progress. Well, put them down too. I want you to make 2 identical lists. What I want you to do is, when you've got these lists ready, and we're going to start on the 28th, I want you to then take your full moon candle. I want you to light, as you go to light the candle, read out what's on your list out aloud, then place it underneath your candle. I want you to place your candle on a coaster or something else, not directly on the furniture, because the glass container gets hot and we wouldn't want to scorch the table. And then do the same with your second candle, which will be your candle to represent Scorpio. The reasons why we do this and we read it out aloud is we're setting the intent, the purpose, and the direction of what we're trying to achieve by burning a candle. I like to burn a candle between 15 minutes to 2 hours per day, never leaving a candle unattended, never put them under a curtain, under a fan, under an air conditioner, in a draft, never leave them near children and pets, and always make sure that you've got a good clear space around you. I quite often burn my candles in a terracotta pot. I put them in the pot so that they've got, you know, a terracotta pot that sits on my table, and it acts as a bit of a windbreak if, you know, you're here in Queensland and it gets a bit hot in the summer where you do need to have a fan going near you, that it's not being blown about. It's got a windbreak around it, and it's protecting the candle. And I have 2 of those. They mightn't look the most glamorous, but they're a much more of a safety device for me. So I would do that with the full moon candle. Then I would do exactly the same with my water sign candle. Now, the water sign candles do represent all the water signs. So as you go to work with it, you're focusing on the fact that you're trying to draw in the Scorpio energy, not so much the Cancer or the Piscean energy at this point. Again, same rule of thumb, 15 to 2 hours. a day for the 7-day period. Then for those of you that might be traveling or have a smaller space, you can always invest in a pack of travel pack candles. Now these are, you can choose the 3 of your choice. You can see this week I've chosen 2 full moon and a water sign. You could maybe pick up a pack and say I'll have a new moon, a full moon, and my star sign, and then I've got the moons covered, or working with my own energy, or whatever you choose to do. These are designed for traveling or for confined spaces. They're in a glass container, same rules apply with those. So what happens if you don't have one of my candles and you still want to participate in the full moon ritual? There's no reason why you can't do it with any particular candle that you've got, whether that be a store-bought one from a supermarket, something from a $2 shop, something that someone gave you, something you've got, you know, a tea light candle for argument's sake. It's the power of the intent that you're going to put into the candle when you're actually working through this ritualistic process. The reasons why I designed these range of candles, I've worked with candles most of my professional life, and I started to feel that I wasn't getting enough momentum or enough energy, enough change out of just store-bought candles. And I toyed with the idea for a long time, and then I happened to meet somebody that was going into candle making business, and we clicked, and she had the right energy and we had the same ideas, and that was how I started a range of candles. Initially I bought one out for my tarot range, and that quickly grew from 1 to 28 in the range in less than 6 months. So you can see how the momentum and the magic worked, and each candle has been individually designed and infused with the intent of what we're trying to bring or change into our lives. So the full moon candle and things like that, there was a lot of research that went into the fragrance, the color, the labeling. All the labels were designed personally by myself. They all had to have the right energy to give you that right influence of working with things. So, you know, I'm not about here, this is not about trying to sell you product. Yes, that's great if you want to do that. It's more about education and helping you take some steps in your life to make your world a better place. We don't always have an abundance of money. As much as people say, I'll just send it out to the universe and the universe provides. Yes, the universe does provide, but you've got to get up off the couch and do something about it for yourself too. And sometimes it's a matter of priority. What is the best priority for the funds that you have? And that may not stretch to an extensive range of my candles. That's fine. Use what you've got. I'm a firm believer in not squandering our resources. If you've got a cupboard full of candles that have been gifted to you or you've bought over the years, use them first. You know, let's use what we've got so that we're moving the energy along. We're keeping everything sort of fresh. So I'd like to sort of take this opportunity to welcome you again. If you've just joined us on the show, you can binge watch the previous episodes and the previous over 50 shows on A1R Psychic Radio over on the page that's listed in my blurb there. You'll find all the previous shows there. I upload them each week as they're happening. So you've got that opportunity if you've got some spare time or you want to go back and learn something. Each week we cover a different topic. Next week we're going to be doing a workshop on forgiveness. Now this is something I quite often get asked, probably nearly every day in my work, is how do I go about forgiving someone? So next week tune in for that. We're going to do a whole workshop on forgiveness and why we need to do it and why is it important to our soul. So just to have a little quick recap, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Amanda Hall Psychic. I've been in the psychic industry here in Australia for over 40 years. My passion is tarot and astrology, plus working with candles. My endeavour here each week in this workshop is to educate and change just even one person's thinking. If I've done that, then I've done my job correctly. I do have a show out of the Washington district previous to this on A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV on Facebook Live. You're more than welcome to join us there. On that show each week, we have the Simply Tarot card of the week, we have the candle of the week, we have the glimpse around the universe, we also have a mini astrology lesson, and we take 2 free callers from right around the globe. So that's the only place that I do free readings. I do not offer free readings. As you can appreciate, my time and my energy is valuable, just the same as yours is, whether you work in a supermarket, an office, you're a lawyer or a doctor, or you're just the street sweeper. You get paid for your work. Nobody expects you to work for free. So please don't expect psychics to work for free either, because it takes a lot of energy. 1 hour of this work is equivalent to 4 hours of a normal job. So please respect that when you sort of ask people to give you something for nothing. You know, I'm a firm believer in the exchange of energy. That's where bartering comes from. You know, I give you an apple, you give me an orange. It's the same with psychic stuff. When we endeavour to do these things and we're happy to do a workshop and we're happy to give our services free of charge or our knowledge, that's our choice. But please don't be offended when you write to me and say, can you just tell me about this? And I say, no, here's my website, book in for a reading. Because I could do free readings all day, every day, and then there would be nothing left of me to give my clients that really do need my help, that have been with me over many, many years. So I'd like to take this opportunity before we go to just remind you, if you're looking to purchase product, book in for a reading, amandahallpsychic.com.au. When you get to the checkout, Facebook in capital letters. In the coupon box, you'll get a nice little discount there. Free shipping here in Australia, combined one flat fee for overseas. So if you want to buy some stuff and you're overseas, wait until you've got everything, save your pennies up and do it in one hit. It'll save you some international shipping. So as I said, next week on the show, on our mini workshop series next week, we're going to be talking about forgiveness. And that's a really tricky subject for a lot of people. It's a touchy one, but it's one that we'll happily explore next week. If you have any other ideas or anything that you would like me to feature in a workshop, I'm happy to bring it in, to weave it in to whatever our topic may be. Please private message me and I'll endeavour to do so. As I'd like to thank you again for joining us here. I will personally get back to each and every one of you that's left a message. I hope you absolutely have the most fantastic, awesome day, what's left of it. Please feel free to join us in many of our groups and things like that that I've got floating around the place. You can play catch up on the page that's purely designed for workshops and shows. Have a great week and see you next week, and happy Anzac Day. We will remember them.